It's a pleasure to be here and to be presenting on behalf of Media of LA. It's always a delight for me to work with our community around North America and around the world, looking at the attendees, and great to spend some time with you. So appreciate that. My presentation today, as we can see there, is about, at the title, Digital Resource Planning and Embracing Uncertainty. It's one of those fascinating things about digital asset management is that we enable very specific things and we always know the unknown awaits. When we started digital asset management, the concept of what we were managing was pretty straightforward. We've got the binary, the little ones and zeros. We've got information that makes an asset self-contained. And of course, all of us argue pretty passionately that rights information is a first principle core to defining what is a digital asset. Well, the patents for this were filed in the mid 1990s. Things have changed a bit since then. And if we took the time to read through this very dense description of a digital asset today, we see that the atomic element in an asset, of course, the binary, the little ones and zeros, which are still, they do a lot of sophisticated things, but it's still ones and zeros. The metadata that arrives on the scene, the metadata that we ascribe to an asset, and vast change in inferential, associated, machine-generated, governed AI, and linked metadata joins with a much larger ecosystem and kind of tectonic plates in how content is being orchestrated around an organization. And if all these things were true about an asset, I still would say, as the little asterisk notes, well, we know what an asset is, at least for a little while. For all of us who help to manage DAM systems, this is one of both the joys of digital asset management as well as the challenge, as we said in the title, of embracing uncertainty. And let it never go unsaid that this really is an enterprise application. Sometimes the budget for DAM lands in a certain department or in the marketing budget, and we have to go through some odd experiences to help central management recognize that this really is enterprise infrastructure software. And hopefully I'm going to share some vocabulary about that today. And my vocabulary starts with introducing a new phrase that I've been doing some writing and speaking about called digital resource planning, a framework for the persistence of uncertainty. Digital resource planning is a way to approach from an enterprise point of view an encompassing vision of content. All of us are working on this. In an enterprise environment, we're very used to the acronym or the initialism ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. That's SAP systems, it's Oracle, it might be Microsoft accounting. ERP is deeply embedded in the infrastructure of almost every organization. The business schools teach this. Management and C-suite are expected to know about ERP. And the perspective that I want to share today to give each of you some other language, another framework is to talk about, okay, we get this ERP thing. If ERP manages physical goods and financials, digital resource planning is about managing the life cycle and value. Let's all take yellow markers and highlight that word value of digital content, from media files to metadata, creative workflows, and content supply chain. Were we able to ascribe the cent by cent, dollar by dollar value of the investment that goes on into what's encapsulated in that third purple box? It is in the tens and actually in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yet accounting for this from an ERP perspective generally does not exist, and it hampers our abilities as DAM managers to advocate for the resources, the expanded software, the training, attending the Rutgers program that helps us manage these supply chains better. In our digital-first, content-saturated world, we need this other form of critical planning, digital resource planning. It's a strategic framework for what we all go to work today. And in that second purple box, these are words quite familiar to probably everybody who's kind enough to join us here at Media Valet today, culminating not only with rights management and AR and AI integration, but looking at this from a platform point of view and from an operational point of view. And we want to set this in an executive context. So think about it this way, looking at the third box. If ERP drives what a company sells, digital resource planning drives how a company or an entity, for those of joining us from museums and the mission and mandate world, communicates, differentiates, and grows, something content helps us to do. And by extension, the principles of DAM and creative operation give us a framework to lead, not just execute. That's a lot of the purpose of what all of us do who are involved in, we hope, orchestrating the amplitude of working in digital asset management and growing professionally as the talent who leads how content goes to work. When we started DAM, we thought, we're going to get rid of all these silos. We even paid lip service to video, although there wasn't really too much to do with video when DAM started. But today we're much more concerned with orchestration and with the ebb and flow and pulse and management of content and the workflows embedded there too. No DAM, I like to say, is an island. DAM is in and connected to the content universe and illustrates the need for digital resource planning. And as we take a look at this particular viewpoint, I quite admittedly make DAM the center of the universe. That's my little Galileo David's telescope. But all of the orbiting forces that interface with, interact with, and may or may not be centrally gravitationally pulled into DAM range from product information management. For those of you from the mission and mandate world, highly analogous is collections information management, master data management for data conflict and data resolve, the wonderful and extraordinary creative operation tools that give us more and more metadata as it seems every 6 months goes by. Our capacity to reach out through marketing resource management. Social media, a very volatile aspect of what DAM has to have embedded transformations for. ERP, which we've already talked about a bit. Packaging, of course, web presence and portals that might sort of get tucked under there under content management. And then I've used the algebraic X to remember our poor friend Pluto, who got kicked out of the universe, to represent the unknown future. Who would have thought a year ago that you'd have to have an embedded transformer to go to a social media channel called Blue in reaction to what's been going on with X? We don't know what the next UTalk and Tube Talk Tack might be, or what it'll even be called. We know, though, in terms of embracing uncertainty, that something new will come along. It might be an AR file format. It might be digital signage that somehow 3D all of a sudden doesn't. We don't know. We do know that we want each of you to feel confident that this is the way we're thinking about infrastructure and leadership in DAM. And just for the heck of it, to kind of illustrate a little bit about the connected universe that we're a part of, I just had a little fun with some work from General Mills, where we've got, of course, the logos, a little history of the logos in the upper right. We see a Honey Nut Cheerios box and some piece parts from that, the UPC code, the packaging layout on the right, the bumblebee campaign, and that's actually a bumblebee that was visible if you looked through a certain lens. It appears to move during a Bring Back the Bees campaign that General Mills has been very involved with. One of my favorite things, smart labels. If you've not explored these, they represent such a capacity to engage and potentially even yield first-party data if smart labels are invoked by your more customers or possibly members. And then just because I thought it'd be fun to put an archival little thank you to General Mills over on the left there of the first two monster characters that appeared in the 1970s from General Mills. So many times archives are not an initial justification for dam purchase, but can play a very fun role in what dam is used for and also cause the need for hopefully more staff. To embrace uncertainty, Graham Allen and we lead a leadership tutorial around the world on advanced dam leadership. We've best conceptualized this in the role that many people at Media Valet play, and that's being a product manager. Only here, as dam practitioners and as the dam and content leaders, we want to see that what our product role is understanding what is the role of dam here, metadata and IA, governance, big governance, little governance, things that we need to situationally respond to, strong alignment with the creative teams, a rock solid technical infrastructure so that our cloud architecture is deployed accurately, and each of you. Talent is what makes up DAM. Talent helps us with, and good DAM means good recruitment. We hope less attrition, and we hope growth. So we conceptualize in terms of dealing with a bit of uncertainty, the role of a product manager in stabilizing and nurturing DAM. Many of you have been through sessions, and hopefully some of you have used the digital asset management capability model, probably the best tool that exists to help disambiguate uncertainty and to help to plan the future. And to do that, as we hope many of you know, and Media Valet is a welcome sponsor of the capability model and can provide you, as can CASDAM, the intellectual resource for this, or the Thought Leadership Institute where this stuff comes from. Each model, each facet in the model goes through how are we doing. Talent is one of my favorites in initial, emerging, standardizing, and operationalizing. And then optimizing, one of the keys to using a capability model, and these are Carnegie Mellon grounded benchmarking tools. Optimizing is a state of persistent continual improvement. Nobody ever really gets to stage 5. Stage 5 is what we aspire to. And in all the 18 or 19 facets of the capability model, stage 5, optimizing, that's our meta goal for this. We're all in different places in all the different facets. And a key step to dealing with the uncertainty of DAM is to not only recognize how we have to be ready with enhanced adaptability, but to know concrete ways of what we can control and focusing on kind of what if instead of changing what if to even if, and then controlling what we can. So to take the capability model, to take your goals for the coming year and what you want Media Valet to do as leaders in DAM, we use 11 steps in the capability model. Step 1, pick any one of the facets, metadata, talent, use cases, rights, whatever it might be. And then we ask to fill in the blank. As a result of moving from level 2 to level 3 in metadata, my organization will be able to. Again, remembering we want to optimize capability and we want to manage uncertainty. Who's going to be impacted in step 2 by the desired growth that we seek? What workflows will change in step 3? And step 4, who are our partners in this internally? And then externally, if some of you have agencies or portals or other supply chain uses of your content that a change in metadata may impact. Step 5, do I have to buy anything? Do I need some software? Do I need some help with my taxonomy? Do I have any hardware for some reason I might need to purchase? And then the ever challenging, what's my budget? What will it cost? And of course, all of our favorite, step 7 in action planning research to make progress is who has to say yes, and then the many, many people who can generally say no. And then what's the impact on governance? Does this affect big governance where we come together periodically with many departments? Or is this some kind of exigent or situational change where I just need to make my taxonomy accommodate some street slang that's developed for a particular product line? And it really is not a big change, but measuring how we make those changes, I have to take this through some governance. And then very importantly, step 8, measurement. And this goes back to, as a result, the very first goal articulation. Remember, we're talking about managing uncertainty. What metrics will measure this change? And then to design the sample reports. Many of you are dam managers and you work with your dam stewards or your ambassadors, your power users, your dam partners around an organization. Work with them on designing the metrics and designing the reports, articulating the metrics, designing the reports that will measure this change. And the last 3 steps get us ready for much of the theme of the Dam Week this year with Media Valet, talking to executives, which John Horodowski will be giving a very welcome presentation on, and looking at return on investment or ROI. I've written extensively about expanding our understanding of ROI past the first step, step 9, ROI financial. What is the hard traditional financial return on investment? If we make this change, we'll save 5 hours at X dollars per hour, which is this per week times 48 or 52, whatever the number is. ROI is often tracked when dam systems are being purchased. Sadly, it's rarely tracked after dam systems go in, but if you can journal those changes, that leads to very intelligent budget conversations as the years go on and dams value continues to be measured. Oftentimes in year 2 and in year 3, we switch our thinking from financial ROI, because that money goes away basically, usually 18 to 24 months out. And we need to look at return on impact or return on initiative, where we tie DAM in the corporate world to ongoing changes in business goals, business consolidation, brand deaccession, brand accession, new market growth, new product lines. And we want to be able to tie the impact of DAM and the impact of our initiatives to corporate goals. And sometimes it's to corporate initiatives. Many of you may be fortunate to work where there's corporate social responsibilities. We've seen instances where the DAM team has helped a small not-for-profit in their community with some content management initiatives. For those of you in the mission and mandate world where we measure our impact by how have we helped people? Have we opened the doors to our museum? Have we shared the legacy of an extraordinary baseball player? Have we helped government services be offered more efficiently or be discovered more easily? And have we been able to, in times of crisis, help the Nature Conservancy or the Red Cross or Seventh-day Adventists or the Salvation Army, which is working very hard in Canada on a large digital transformation project? How are we doing on that? We don't measure these worlds by profit and loss. We measure them by impact on people. Finally, dam systems contain a lot of data. And it's quite interesting to look at that data and think, well, wait a minute. I know things about all the agencies we do business with, and there's actually no other list of that except maybe somebody in accounts payable. So it's an interesting amplitude to thinking about DAM, to think about, is there data here that I can help my organization with? Just a couple of examples of pushing the envelope of DAM I thought it might be fun to share. Several years ago here, it was 14 years ago in Washington, D.C., where I'm based just outside of, the National Gallery of Art had to replate the East Wing building because there were some issues with the brackets that were holding up the covering stone. And I love the picture of this guy on the right side. He's making metadata. So that's one of the stones, and everything was held up. And that metadata was used by the architect of the Capitol, I'm sorry, the architect of the National Gallery of Art during this project. And when the stones were being reinstalled, every stone was got a barcode, it was scanned, the stones were then replaced, and little notes and stories were told about them. And the infrastructure behind this was photographed. All this went into the dam system at the National Gallery of Art. Now, did they buy their current dam system for this? No. This was an illustration of dam is an enterprise application. It's very happy to have every art image in the National Gallery of Art and images and video about infrastructure, about how the space can be rented out, and so on and so forth. So, an interesting edge point with DAM right now, it's happening very sporadically and more in Europe than here, is the use of all of these things we know through product lifecycle management, through PIM systems, through DAM, through packaging software to replace humans going around in grocery stores, drugstores, so on and so forth, and putting little weekly tags up on shelves. Here's a nice slide that shows an LED electronic shelf label on the left, an e-ink based things does Kindle on the right. And so far, the adoption of this is pokey. I hope it will increase. And again, in thinking of the overall context of working better, working smarter, embracing and managing ambiguity, there's a lot of ways to measure ROI on electronic shelf label, and they mimic and echo the capability model. Labor savings, error reduction, energy savings. DAM is a very sustainable application, managing inventory improvement, and enhanced customer experience. So reducing errors and frustrating customers is not ROI. Well, I mean, it kind of is in terms of financial because it's expensive to take a phone call from a mad person. But having happier customers is that middle ROI of return on investment. And this illustrates, to go back to the opening idea, the need for digital resource planning throughout and whenever we can. Shadowing everything we do today is this kind of catch-all phrase for things that many of you have been doing and many of us have been doing with natural language processing, machine learning, inferential text processing, text reading through closed captioning. For a long time, AI, yes, I've heard of it. It doesn't mean any of those things I've crossed out, but I kind of had fun thinking of them. And I like to think of AI as something that we in the digital asset management do as leaders. We're always innovating. There are some practical things. I really like that book on the left called Co-Intelligence, Living and Working with AI. Like digital, it's a very kinetic life. And my friend Linda Tadich, who runs Digital Bedrock, was kind enough to share a picture of digital decay. Yes, digital has a half-life. Anybody who's had to recover issues, shall we say, with CDs or DVDs certainly can know about that, or restoring tape. We as dam managers need to advocate while we're managing through this uncertainty of AI for laboratory time, testing time, for time to talk to maybe general counsel and to get opinions, and just testing time so that we know that the why of why we're turning to something artificial to help us translates into the what we are turning it into, ethically and morally and accurately. I love this Carnegie Mellon University ad, and it's where the training, all the epicenter of training for capability models came from, where what if becomes what's next. And what's next is kind of the clarion call, of course, of what we teach at Rutgers, of what all of us get to look ahead and do in digital asset management. And embracing uncertainty is about acknowledging that the future is not fully predictable. There is a lack of control that we have in digital asset management. It's sometimes very hard for upper management or IT staff. And fostering a sense of openness and resilience on what we can control, a mind of curiosity and experimentation, and hopefully a organizational environment that tolerates this. It gives us the chance to look at enhanced adaptiveness as part of what we do. And again, like I said, to focus on even if rather than what if in terms of being ready. And as some of you may have seen me say before with this very fun silly putty slide, we don't know what the silly putty is going to be in May of 2026. Something will be different. It's our belief that staying agile and responsive with digital resource planning can hopefully help you embrace a more certain future, a more rewarding future, and have great careers in digital asset management. Be active in the Media of LA weeks like this, in the user groups. Come join Henry Stewart. Join us for any of the classes at Rutgers for your own professional education, where you get great opportunity to bond with peers all over the world. And with a hopeful note of digital resource planning coming to have meaning for each of your lives, I'm here to answer any questions, and always please be in touch with anything that I can help with. Stephen, thank you for the opportunity to join this great community. And if there's time for a couple of questions, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, David. Really good stuff. And I think, particularly AI uh, is a really interesting topic, and it's shifting very quickly and will impact pretty much every facet of our daily life. And on AI, we have a great topic tomorrow, a great session tomorrow on AI at 10 a.m. We'll share the link to the Dan Week Reg page in the chat. But 10 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow, we've got a really insightful topic on the role of AI when it comes to digital asset management. David, one question. We've got time for one question. Um, we have a lot of uncertainty that's in the market right now. And so shifting priorities, remote teams, market changes, potential recession. Uh, what, in your view, in your experience, and working with the likes of TMU and Rutgers, what types of uncertainty are most impacting the DAM market today? What should people on this call be most concerned about or focusing on?
On the matter of the particular, and it's why that session tomorrow is so important, it's an ambiguated wish that upper management has about just use AI for that. I mean,
Mm,
and that those kind of statements of I can go on to AI and it will just do this. That's great, but if you're using AI to provision an advertisement, an advert about something that is consumed, that it's in a regulated industry,
mm,
the potential audit implications of using, well, untested, for lack of a better word, to not being cautious. I don't like saying things in negative. So, casually managed use of AI, I think, is an enormous risk. Um, Anticipating macroeconomic events when we really have no idea if they're going to happen or not going to happen can slow down needs, I think. And then the it's almost like wish transference that if I just put this in Google or I just put it out there, AI will find everything, and not realizing the extraordinary talent that goes on to looking at that content orchestration. And I think one of my challenges is better education in the business schools. Does my
mm,
upper management help me help them? How do I help them understand managing up? That I want to manage up, that this is enterprise infrastructure software and it can be used in untold applications around an organization. And I think that's still a real issue for us in DAM. We kind of grew up in this odd, particular compartmentalization, unlike other enterprise tools, but we are one and we are
mm,
enterprise. So I think getting that message across correctly. Um, I think one of the things I'm so excited about is how great the DAM systems are that are out there.
mm,
It is now possible to buy DAM software with great user interfaces, to have a week like this where there are dozens of people joining us. And I think that affirms community so that the practice of DAM is in better resolve and better light.
Yeah, and I think that's as you talked about, David. I think the focus of not viewing DAM as a marketing solution, but viewing DAM as an enterprise-wide solution. And we've got some customers this weekend, DAM Week, Fred Rogers Foundation, for example. All departments use DAM, everything from marketing, sales, but also to licensing, finance. And so I think it behooves us as DAM people to work towards making the DAM, as you say, a digital resource planning solution, an enterprise-wide solution, as opposed to a marketing-only solution.
And sometimes that has implication for the initial budgeting and reporting line.
Yeah. Yes.
One of my favorite things to see, Stephen, is when the marketing manager who's got DAM, it's being used and orchestrating,
Mhm.
walks in and says, "Why am I running this? Those people over in customer service want DAM. That's not my department." And I think those are happy moments when we need to go to the CIO, CDO, COO, and change the reporting line. So speaking of changing the reporting line, I believe you have a change of speakers coming up.
Yes, we do. Yes, we've got another session in about 10 minutes.
Great.
It is going to be around the three roles for effective digital asset management. So for those joining that, that's going to be a great session with one of our senior account managers. But David, really appreciate your insight and taking the time out of your schedule to share your knowledge and experience with our audience. It was really insightful.
Glad to be here always. Hope to see some of you at any of the gatherings. And if you have any questions about what's going on with Rutgers, with TMU, what a fabulous phenomenon it is that the leading provider of undergraduate education in DAM is in Toronto. And on June 18th, Reem and I host our fifth annual DAM for Canada. And
So,
lots of folks will join us. It's all Canadian speakers. So a little point of pride there for you guys up in
yeah,
Vancouver.
lots
So
of make believes.
take good care, everybody.
All right. Thanks, David. Take
Bye.
care. Bye now.